Long before I ever wrote a single word about time or memory or fractured realities, I have had a theory that has nothing to do with physics or parallel worlds, and everything to do with the oddity of being human. This theory is simply this: we are never a single version of ourselves. We accumulate ourselves over time, space, and reality, across universes and in distant realities. But they all reside here, inside the same lifetime, inside the same self. Every moment, every heartbreak, every choice we made because we were brave, and every choice we made because we were afraid. Each one creates a new version of us. Not versions that live somewhere else, versions that live within us, quietly, patiently, layered like sediment, stacked like pages in a book we haven't finished reading. And sometimes, when life slows down just long enough for us to hear ourselves think, we feel all of them at once. The person we used to be, the person we're trying to be, the person we pretend to be, the person we're still afraid to become. We live as a collection of selves, each one shaped by a moment that changed us, a moment that left a mark, a moment we didn't realize was rewriting the architecture of who we are. Most people think change is sudden, but it isn't. It's gradual, quantum, happening in increments so small we don't notice until we look back and realize we aren't the same anymore. And maybe that's why we struggle so much to explain why certain days feel heavier, why certain memories sting decades later, or why certain parts of our lives feel like they belong to someone else. They did, to an earlier version of us, a version that helped us survive, a version that carried weight we no longer have to, a version that still exists. Even if we don't live inside them anymore, they do live inside us. This is Cruz, and this week's episode is called Our Quantum Selves. There's the version of us that's born the first time the world truly disappoints us. Not the small stumbles of childhood, not the toy that broke or the friend who didn't show. Those early cracks are too small to change us. I'm talking about the first real disappointment, the one that comes later, the one that arrives like a quiet collapse in the space between what we hoped for and what actually happened. It's the moment we realize that life doesn't always rise to meet our expectations, and sometimes it doesn't even try. Maybe it was a dream we chased for years that slipped through our fingers in a single afternoon. Maybe it was a person we believed in until the moment they proved they were never who we imagined. Maybe it was a future we built quietly in our minds that simply never came. Whatever form it takes, that first disappointment doesn't just hurt us, it reshapes us. It rearranges the architecture of our hope. It teaches us to reach a little less boldly, to want a little more quietly, to guard the brightest parts of ourselves. It is the moment we begin to dream with caution instead of abandon. And that version of us, the one formed in the fallout, they don't disappear. They stay with us. They become the one who hesitates when we feel excitement rising, the one who whispers warnings into the soft parts of our ambition, the one who learned, too early perhaps, that disappointment has a long memory. And yet, even in their caution, they carry something important. The reminder that hope is not fragile, but we are. And that version of us lives inside every risk we take, every dream we dare to revive, every time we reach for something, knowing it might slip away again. There is also another us, One born not from disappointment or loss, but from joy, real joy. The kind that arrives unexpectedly and expands something inside us we didn't realize was small. For some people, this version is created in a moment of laughter so deep it feels like remembering a language you once knew. For others, it's the first time someone looks at you, really looks at you, and you feel, without question, that you belong in their world. There is a self that's born within that joyous us, that comes to be the first time you realize you matter to someone. A self shaped by light instead of fracture. A self who sees beauty without bracing for the break. A self who trusts that joy doesn't always have an expiration date. This version of us isn't naive. They aren't untouched by life. They simply grew from a moment where something broke open, not down, and let something brighter fill the space. Maybe it was the day someone made room for you at their table. Maybe it was the moment a dream, however small, actually came true. Maybe it was the night you looked around a room and felt, quietly and completely, that you were meant to be there. Joy creates a version of us just as powerfully as heartbreak does, but in the opposite direction. This person becomes the one who believes we are capable of good things, the one who remembers we are more than what hurt us, the one who insists, gently but persistently, that we still have reasons to hope. They are the keeper of our belonging, our softness, our possibility. And when the world grows dark, this version of us is the one who lights the lantern of our heart, who reminds us that not every important moment breaks us. Some rebuild us. Some teach us how wide our heart can become when it's allowed to expand instead of brace. This self stays too, quiet, warm, patient. The version that holds out its hand every time we forget that happiness can reshape us just as completely as disappointment ever did. There is also a version of us that wasn't shaped by disappointment or by joy, but by endurance. The self that arrived the moment we realized no one was coming to save us. Not because people didn't care, but because this part of the journey was always going to be ours alone. There is a self that forms quietly in the aftermath of the moments that should have broken us, but somehow didn't. The version who learned how to keep moving long after hope ran thin. The one who held the pieces of our life together even when we didn't know how to heal them. This self isn't born in one moment. They take shape slowly, in late-night silences, in small decisions made with trembling hands, in the mornings we wake up even though the weight in our chest tells us not to. They grow out of necessity, out of grit, out of the kind of strength we don't recognize until we look back and realize we survived things we once believed we couldn't. This is the version of us that learnt how to endure in the dark. They don't ask for much. They don't demand attention. They don't speak loudly. But they are the reason we are still here. They are the self who learnt to adapt, to reshape their edges when life got too sharp, to carry the weight we couldn't set down because no one else knew how to lift it. Resilience gets romanticized, as if it's some heroic triumph, but the truth is quieter. Resilience is becoming the version of yourself who shows up even when you're exhausted, who keeps trying even when the path is unclear, who holds the line when every part of you wants to let go. This self is not defined by strength alone. They are defined by persistence, by the decision, repeated again and again, to continue. And though they don't get celebrated, and the world rarely sees them, this version of us is often the one who has carried every other version through the storm. They are the steady heartbeat behind all our becoming. the quiet foundation beneath every chapter that followed. And they stay with us too, this self made of resilience, not as a reminder of what we endured, but as proof that endurance changed us, shaped us, made us capable of more than we ever imagined when we were just trying to survive. But there is one more self I would like to mention, an iteration unlike any of the others. Not the self shaped by disappointment, not the one shaped by joy, not the one shaped by survival or resilience. There is a version of us that was never fully created at all. The person beneath everything, beneath the years, beneath the expectations, beneath the disappointments and the victories and the choices we made before we knew what choices could cost. This is the person untouched by time, the one we were before the world began sculpting us into more complicated shapes. The self that sings on long drives when no one is listening. The one who wears wonder like a childhood sweater they never quite outgrew. The one who looks at the sky and still imagines whole worlds in the clouds. The self who cries at the sight of a puppy, because softness comes naturally to them. Before caution was learned, before resilience was required, before we even realized we could lose things we love. The person who loves nostalgia because it feels like the closest thing to remembering a version of ourselves that never got the chance to exist. This is the version of us that the world never meets, not because we hide them, but because they live so close to the center of who we are that most people never get close enough to see them clearly. This person carries the purest form of our hope, the quiet belief that someone, someday, will find them, that someone will look past all the other versions, the guarded one, the cautious one, the resilient one, and see the person we were before life taught us how to protect ourselves from hurt, from grief, from sadness. And in that moment, that untouched self will be seen and known and held with a kind of gentleness that makes every other version of us finally exhale. This is the version of ourselves who believes we are worthy, worthy of being loved, worthy of being chosen, worthy of being found in all the beautiful, unpolished places we learn to hide. Just simply worthy. The self beneath all selves, the quiet one, the true one, the person who has been waiting for permission to exist for our entire lifetime. And maybe we are quantum after all, not because we exist in many places, but because every version of us, the broken, the brave, the joyful, the pure, is still collapsing into the same quiet truth. We were always worthy of being seen, of being loved, of being who we are deep inside. And maybe we're all just waiting for someone to finally take the hand of that first, untainted person and whisper, "Don't worry, everything is going to be okay." And in that moment, maybe we'd actually believe them. Please check your favorite bookstores worldwide for my novel, The Zephyrus Chronicles Rebirth. The highly anticipated sequel, Cantera, arrives this February. This is Cruz reminding you to stay close to the echo. Bye for now.